It's been an incredibly confusing day on the Hill. It started this morning when we got this statement from the university saying that Medrick Burnett Jr. had died. That statement has since been retracted, and we've been told that he is still alive. So let me walk you through what has happened today. This morning, the university announced Medrick Burnett Jr.'s death. And this story quickly becomes national news with major outlets like ESPN reporting Burnett's passing. But then the university took all those statements off its websites and social media pages. That's when we started reaching out to them. Now, in the last hour, we finally heard from Alabama A&M Athletics Department, which told us they retracted the statement after learning Medrick was still alive and what they had reported was false. The university says they have gotten the incorrect news from an immediate family member, but has since learned he is still alive and stable at UAB Hospital. Burnett Jr. was injured during the Magic City Classic back on October 26th. His sister, Dominique James, created a GoFundMe to help support the family, saying he had several brain bleeds and swelling in the brain. James posted an update to the GoFundMe today saying, quote, "Please pray. He is having a tough time, but we are holding on until the very end. God give us strength so we can keep the faith." His sister says that Medrick turned 20 years old the day after he was injured while in the ICU. He joined the Bulldogs family in 2024 ahead of his redshirt freshman campaign. Today, the rest of his teammates got on buses and left from the Hill to head south for their next game against Florida A&M. They are set to play Friday at 3 p.m. We've gotten a lot of updates and new information on this story throughout the past several hours, and if we learn any more new information, we'll be sure to bring it to you both on air and online.
Breaking news is happening right now.
Welcome into WVTM 13 News. I'm Sarah Killian. That breaking news we're following right now. Alabama A&M University football player Medrick Burnett Jr. now pronounced dead. The coroner's office says the 20-year-old from California died at UAB Hospital Wednesday evening. The redshirt freshman was seriously hurt while playing in the Magic City Classic football game last month. I'll be sure to stay with us as we continue to provide updates on this developing story.
Hard-hitting numbers today in a new study about football and head trauma. 99% of the brains of former NFL players studied were damaged. Out of 111 brains examined, all but one had CTE, the disease caused by repeated blows to the head. Symptoms include emotional instability, depression, and memory loss. Doctors now say the brain damage is more common than previously thought, and more work should be done to detect and treat it in its earliest stages. The NFL says it's pledged $200 million for research in the prevention and treatment. And for Brian and Candace Price, it's a daily battle dealing with what they call signs of the disease, and they hope progress comes sooner rather than later.
Tonight, Mara McDonald has part 2 of her conversation with the former NFL linebacker and his wife.
You get a look at big Brian Price holding the point.
Watch him run down the 5'5", 176-pound Brown.
You stay out here. You're going to see him just bust into the backfield.
The man on this video is agitated, disoriented, and scaring people at a Washtenaw County auto parts store. They have no idea this man is actually this man. Brian Price, elite NFL defensive tackle for teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Chicago Bears, husband to track star Candace Davis Price, and father to daughter Gianna with a baby boy on the way. Price's wife Candace doesn't want to see this video of her husband plowing through the glass doors, but she thinks if he had been anywhere other than Washtenaw County, Brian would have been shot dead.
This isn't like a torn ACL or a broken arm and we're going to physical therapy. We're dealing with not even breast cancer and survivors. We're dealing with something that they don't even know enough about to educate, let alone emotionally and mentally what it does to a family.
Brian likely has what's known as CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Will Smith recently starred in the movie Concussion about the doctor who discovered the progressive degenerative brain disease in NFL players. CTE can only be confirmed after death when the brain can be examined. 33 NFL players have been definitively diagnosed after death, including Frank Gifford and Junior Seau. The Red Wings' legendary enforcer Bob Probert was discovered to have CTE in his brain tissue after he died. The cause is repeated blows to the head. It manifests in multiple ways: dementia, aggression, difficulty thinking, even suicidal thoughts. There is no cure.
I have been trying to reach out to them even prior to this incident to get more consistent therapy, to see what the options are, and even for myself, I can't be the only woman that's suffering with this.
The them Candace is referring to is the NFL. Brian has an assigned case manager who takes her calls, but as far as medical help, Candace is frustrated. For his part, Brian doesn't remember what went on at that auto parts store, just the taste of blood in his mouth.
Mentally, like some days I struggle a lot. But like as a man and as a friend and a father, you don't want people to see it. But at the same time, like I know I'm not the only one going through this.
His short-term memory has become increasingly poor. Ask him whether he's in pain, he shrugs it off. Ask him if he's been concussed and has had repeated headaches.
In high school, I used to get headaches a lot. Like my mom used to hate me. She was like, I hate when they slap you on your head after you make a good play.
There are also the personality changes.
He has his core characteristics. So the gentleman-like qualities, the respect for women, but it's definitely altered of the personality.
Brian is only 28 years old. The NFL paid to send him to therapy at a cost of $40,000. They will no longer pay for that, and treatment for this is something that insurance just doesn't cover.
I'll be very honest and transparent. I really hope that there's a solution before. It is terrifying to think that young men are killing themselves, killing their families. That is a big fear of mine. Not that Brian would ever hurt anyone else, not that he would hurt myself or my family, but that the pain that he goes through, does he hurt himself?
After talking to Brian and Candace about everything that has happened here over an extended period of time, Brian told me he wanted to see the video. He was okay with looking at the video, but Candace was never okay with looking at the video. She said it was just too hard for her to look at, and as of tonight, she says she still hasn't looked at the video.
It's jarring. I can understand why.
And something also to consider, you see she's pregnant. They're having a baby boy. This little boy is coming from two people who are so athletically talented, and I asked her, if this boy wants to play football like his daddy, what are you going to do? And are you going to let him? And she said, no way.
It's going to be a tougher and tougher question for a lot of parents the more that we learn about this problem. Tomorrow morning, former Detroit Lion Lomas Brown is going to be joining us in the studio. He's also right in the middle of the controversy over concussions, and he'll be here to talk pretty candidly about his experiences. That's tomorrow starting at 6 a.m.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you coming back. This is part 2. Man, I hope y'all enjoyed part 1. As if you was with us for part 1, you already know we was giving a little history of football. It's RDB21 back again. What we was talking about, like I said before, was basically a little history from the inventors, the innovators of this game that we call football today. We talked about that last week, well, in the last series. So today, where we gonna go, like I said, we're gonna get more into the concussions and how it's actually killing us and how we're actually really dying from this deadly disease that we have called football. So basically what we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna talk about how the concussions have basically affected all of us. As you've seen in the video clips, I hope those clips were eye-opening, because when I first seen those clips of those athletes, man, it's sad, man. I feel bad for them. Like this is another reason why I'm doing this. This is why I feel like we have to talk about this. This is something that we gotta really talk about. Like we gotta stop acting like that. This is just, oh man, he got messed up. Like, like yeah, he did. They really are getting messed up. They're messing up their lives. They're messing up their families. They're messing up the world, because they're not just hurting themselves. In some cases, they're hurting other people. So this is something that we really have to really look at. We talk about mental health, and we talk about helping help just being mentally healthy. Well, I mean, hitting your head up against each other, I don't think that's healthy. So, I mean, like I said, man, this is something that once again, I'm going. This is another thing I got to clear up too. I didn't really say this in the last series. I don't hate football. I know everybody's like, man, he hate football. I do not hate football. Like people, when I talk to people about this, I try to talk to them about it. I watch football. I don't watch football like I used to. I played football in high school myself. Like I'm a big football fan. I was a huge football fan. I would consider myself just like anybody else. So I don't think that football fans are dumb. I don't think you guys are dumb. I'm not trying to talk down on anyone when I'm talking about this. So please don't think that's what I'm doing. Like I want us to learn something really. Is like I said, I want us to learn from this. Like, and use it as hopefully when it's your time for your child to be able to go, maybe you can come back and look at some of these clips and look at what we talked about and say, hey, all right, yeah, I might have to have second thoughts about this. Because like I said, I don't hate football though. I understand it's a part of our lives. So that's the reason why I am talking about it, is because I know it's not going anywhere. So I want us to understand what we dealing with. You know, just like anything else, when we having to deal with racism, we have to understand what we dealing with. If we don't understand that, I mean, we gonna be in trouble, like we've been for all this time. So we gotta recognize the problems and try to solve them. So that's really my goal with basically what we doing, what we talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if you looked at those clips and you seen some of the things that happened, I hope you can understand like what was really going on. Like I said, this is a sport that is being pushed on Black kids. We're pushing our kids into it because we look at it as an avenue to make money, which it has become. And that's kind of the avenue that I'm gonna talk about also in this week, just the money aspect of it and how that has attracted us to it. Because it's looked at as a job that you can be successful and you can change your family's life, which you can. That is true. So, I mean, that's why I understand. I understand why people play football. I understand. Like I said, I'm not against football. I'm against us. I'm against us playing it because I know what it's doing to us. That's all. Like I said, if you play football, I'm not against you. If you good, I'm gonna root for you. I'm gonna root for you. So understand that. Like I said, I like what's going on. Like Dion, I'm his biggest fan. I root for them every time they play. But I'm worried about them. I'm worried about Shador. I'm worried about Travis. I'm worried about Dion, man. If you look at what's going on with him, like his health isn't all that great. Like he had his toes amputated. Like what was that all about? Like his health, obviously he's having some health issues. And like I said, Dion was an athlete. But I want us to look at things like that. Like I said, when I say I'm worried about Shador and Travis, what I'm saying by that is, like I said, man, hey, man, Travis, he's being promoted. I want y'all to once again, he's an exceptional athlete. He can do anything he wants to do on the football field. He's great. And like I said, I understand this is a way for him to take care of his family and do what he's doing. So I'm all for it. But I worry about his health because they're pushing him as being a two-way player, being able to play every down, just being this Iron Man. Like, I don't think that's good for him and his body and for his long-term benefits. So that's what I mean about why I'm worried about him and Shador. Like I said, he broke his back last year. So, I mean, we know he's had some major injuries already. So, and he takes a lot of hits. He gets hit a lot. But hey, like I said, hey, I love them. I love Shador. I love Travis. I love both of them, man. Like they're exceptional. Like I love watching them play. Everything that they do, I'm rooting for them. So it's not that I don't like football or anything like that. That's not what this is about. I'm not bashing football. I'm not trying to say you stupid for playing or none of that. Like I said, this is just about us, man. I want us to think about Black people, man. How we gonna help each other? This is what I'm talking about. I just want us. If we really gonna help each other, we got to talk about real stuff. That's reality, and like stop acting like this stuff is not real. It's like that's how I feel when they keep letting Tua get out there and play. Just like DeMar Hamlin, when he's getting back out there and playing. Like, do we understand what that is? Like I said, all these guys that I'm naming, these are non-white Black players. I mean, if you look at them, look at the guys who are quitting. They're quit. They call it quitting, but I get it. I understand. They're what they're really saying is their body can't take this. They can't take it no more, and they understand it. There's guys. They're white players though. It's not if we do it. If one of our guys do it, we look down on them and talk bad at them, call them quitters, and they don't want to do it no more. They ain't tough enough. Like that's not what this. If they quit, if somebody don't want to play this game no more, they're not quitters. It's because their body, man, they can't take it. And we keep getting out here acting like we're so tough and oh yeah, he can play through all these injuries and when guys do get hurt, just like I said, any player that we talk about, any guy that's hurt, if he's not playing, we talking bad about him. Like I'm gonna go to basketball, Anthony Davis. Like we talk bad about Anthony Davis forever because he's street clothes. He ain't never playing. But what he doing right now? He's dominating the league because he is good. He wasn't healthy, and that's just what it is. I mean, they can't help that, and we don't understand that. We think they're just like I said, we're playing into this really is the white perception of how they want us to be. Like, yeah, get out here, get out in the field. I don't care if it's raining. Get out there. Get that cotton. Pick that field. We need that. And we still doing that. Like, you ain't tough just because you can get this. It's something I'm starting to understand that you're not tough because you go to work every day. Like, if you sick and you can't go to work, hey, stay home. Like, that don't make you no better person than the other person. And we got to understand stuff like that. Like, man, we always got this mentality that we are better and we got to be tough and all this. Like, we don't have to be like that. That's not how it's supposed to be. So, like I said, there's a lot of different studies that's going on. I don't know if people have seen the movie Concussion. If you've seen that movie, you seen the doctor that was in there. It was a Black doctor that was in that movie. I gotta find his name here. I'm gonna find it here in a second. But if you watch that movie, like I said, he had came out and went to the NFL and basically let them know, like, hey, he had discovered CTE in one of their former players, which was Mike Webster. He was a former Pittsburgh Steelers football player. He was a white player. He had been going through a lot. He had committed suicide. What happened with him was he was going through all kind of trauma. I believe he had lost all his money. Like, he was having a lot of issues. He was having mental issues. He ended up killing himself. So they studied his brain, found out. I gotta find this doctor's name. When I get this doctor's name, I can let you guys know what was his. It's crazy when I look his name up. It's Dr. Bennett Umalu. He was the man he was known for discovering CTE in American football players. His early work laid the foundation for the increased awareness of the disease in contact sports. Dr. Bennett Umalu. Dr. Bennett Umalu. Please, I want to get his name right because I want to give him his credit for being the man who really started making us aware of this disease that they call CTE. It seems to be really, CTE is just a small segment of a lot of these diseases. So, like I said, I don't know if people understand what CTE is. or how CTE works. But basically, it's a brain disease. As you seen in the clips that you seen at the beginning, Dr. Ann McFay, she was showing you she's one of they when you look up who's like the top doctors in this CTE research, Dr. Ann McFay, she's the leading neuropathologist, and she's the director at the University of Boston for the CTE Center. Says she studied hundreds of brains from athletes and military personnel to better understand the progression and pathology of CTE. So she's like one of the leaders in this area of CTE. Like I said, you seen her in the clips earlier. You got to see Nathan Styles' brain. So like I said, she's been doing studies on brains and things like that. There's a lot of different organizations. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Chris Nowinski. He's on. If you ever see any like CNN type of things like that, I've seen him a lot on TV. Like he's a former wrestler actually. He's the CEO and founder of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, and he basically does a lot of CTE work. His co-founder is Dr. Robert Cantu. He's a co-founder of that legacy too. So both of those guys, like that foundation, they're real prevalent in the media. If you ever see anybody talking about concussions and things like that, Dr. Chris Nowinski, he's a lot of. I've seen him on TV a lot. He's one of the leaders in basically talking about what's going on. Like I said, he used to be a wrestler, and basically what happened with him was he had various concussions and things like that, and so he stopped wrestling. I want to say he played football too, but that was how he got into this research. So he retired from all those things and started basically getting involved with looking at brain injuries and those type of things. But like I said, there's a lot of research that's been going on with that, like I said, with CTE and all these brain injuries that the NFL don't really talk about those type of things. They talk about, we see what happened with Tua. They talk about him having a concussion and things like that. And they talk about, I don't know if you've seen what the NFL has done, where they had the new halos on their helmet. They call them halos, which is like they call them guardian caps. It's like an extra pad that they've put on the helmets. So those are one of the things that they're using now to basically try to protect the helmet, protect your head from impact. So I guess that's helping to some extent. But once again, like I've been trying to tell you guys, man, there's no safe way to play football. There's no safe way to play it. So that's something, like I said, that's the one thing that we really don't talk about. You have to understand, why are we playing this game still? One of the main reasons is, like I said, the economic issues. They're gearing this towards black kids, young black kids in poverty. It's basically football has turned into, it's like, I don't know if you know how soccer, if like Brazil, like the countries in like that are like Brazil and like those countries like that, like their players, like the best players, they come from poverty, like Pele. Like Pele was one of the greatest players ever. Like Pele, he came from poverty. Like that's where they find athletes to bolster up their ranks and bolster up their programs. Like, so if you look at, like I said, once again, white players, they're quitting football. When they get hurt here and there, they're done. Andrew Luck, he only played 6 years and he was done. They never really talked about they never said he had any head injuries or anything like that, but we know that he had a lot of injuries. I believe he did have some head injuries. I believe that's part of the reason why he quit. I don't think it was just because his knee was bad or nothing like that. Like, he was taking a lot of punishment. And with that comes concussions. And that's another thing too. There was a study that I seen where basically when they say a concussion is basically a trauma to the head. That's what a concussion is. So when you get a trauma to the head, it's not always from direct contact to your head. There's a study that shows that you can actually get a concussion from being hit in your ankle. So, because you got nerves down here in your ankle that go to your brain. So just because you're not just because you just get if you're just because you're not getting hit in the head doesn't mean that you're not getting a concussion. You can get a concussion getting hit in your arm, get just overly concussions, just trauma to your brain. Any kind of trauma to your brain can cause you to be concussed. So, like I said, when we see guys out here grabbing their ankles and things like that, like, man, those injuries, those are real injuries. Like, those injuries, they hurt. Like I said, all the clips that we showed at the beginning, all those players laid out. Like, do you see them? Their fingers are curled up. They're not in their right mind. But once again, like I said, man, they're gearing this towards us because, I mean, we come from poverty, so we'll do stuff like that, and we just like how they're my next segment we're gonna talk about is gonna be gambling. That's another thing that they're gearing towards us. That's not productive. That we have to get away from. But those are the things that they push on us. Things that's not gonna help us. Like I said, football, we can get contracts, but if you look at some of those players, I just listened to a podcast earlier. I'm not sure, he may have been in this studio. I'm not sure what studio he was in, but it's the City League podcast, so I'm gonna give him a shout out. They had Deontay Johnson on there, and he was just talking about like how the NFL, you don't retire. He's like, most players don't retire from the NFL. They just you just get cut. Like they don't. He said he had been on, like, he was on the Pt.2 list, which is I guess that's the physically unable to perform list. So he said he had set out for the whole year. He thought he was gonna get called back because he was playing good. He thought they was gonna call him back. He said I never got a call back. He's like, that was basically it. So that was the end of his career, and that was how he ended up going into his next step of life of becoming who he is today, which is, I believe, he owns some shoe stores around here in this area in Columbus. He's a local small business owner. He's doing very well for himself. But like I said, football, that's another thing too that we don't understand. It's a sport where they don't even have guaranteed contracts. The money sounds good, but I mean, it's really not a productive job to have. Because like I said, a job where you're gonna make, you might make $1 million for 3 or 4 years, and then after that, what is it? So you live that lifestyle for about 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden you got to go out and get a regular job. Like, we got to think about how that's affecting these men that are going to this sport. And then after the fact, like, we see what's happening when they come home and have to live in the real world. They have hard times. They have a hard time with it. There's, like I said, we see all the trauma that's happening. There's various players who have won out, and they've gone out and, okay, yeah, there's been players out here that has committed murder. Like I said, we had Brian, when I was talking about Brian Price earlier, like I said, the trauma that these players have went through, we really don't understand a lot of their backgrounds, and why some of the things that they go through later on in life, how that has contributed to them. Brian Price, he's from South Los Angeles. Once he went on, like I said, as you seen his story in the clips, you seen where he played and all that. Well, when he was as a kid, this is in his childhood. He had six sisters, and he had 2 brothers. 2 of his brothers were killed in gang-related shootings in Crenshaw. He had a sister. She died as a result of a car accident in Inglewood in May of 2012. I mean, just think about that trauma that he had went through as a child and how that eventually ended up, leading him to, like I said, him playing football for all those years and him dealing with that trauma already and him having to deal with that trauma. Like, now you can kind of see that mixture with that. And you see, like I said, you see the video of what that has created. Like I said, we had Javon Belcher. He was a linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs. On December 1st, 2012, he committed a murder-suicide where he fatally shot his girlfriend, 22-year-old Cassandra Perkins, at their house. After he did that, he drove to the Chiefs training facility and shot himself in front of the coaches. in front of the coaches and the general manager. Like I mean, when that happened, I mean, you know, we heard about it when it happened, but once these incidents happen, they don't really talk about them too much more. Like, I don't even think people even remember. I remember when that happened, but I didn't even really remember that until I started looking it up and seeing, okay, yeah, he did do that. Like, they don't talk about the trauma that these players are going through. You know, they talk about the success that they're having and all the money that they're making, and they talk about that, but they don't talk about this trauma that they're going through. And these are players, like I said, he murdered his girlfriend and killed himself in front of his coach. Now, I don't know. I don't know if he has CTE, but that's just another example of some of just the extremes that these players are going through, man. There's a lot of cases where there's players who have went out and committed armed robberies, and their brains are rattled. Believe me, their brains are rattled. I don't know if you guys remember, this was a big thing on social media last year where Sergio Brown, you remember he was on social media talking about, you know, they was looking for his mom, and he's on there, you know, talking to people like, oh, talking about she coming back, you know. Sergio Brown, they found his mom's body in the creek in their backyard of her house. She was 73 years old. So Sergio Brown, he ran off to Mexico where he had been recording all these social media videos acting like, oh, nah, she's okay. You know, come to find out Sergio he killed his mother. Now, mental illness is, if this is not mental illness, I don't know what it is. Like, that trauma, that's trauma, man. I don't know what we have to understand. Like I said, these are extreme cases, man. He killed his mom. Like, how much, what else do we have to know? Like, how much worse does it have to get before we understand that this is a real problem, man? Like I said, it's hurting us. We losing a lot of people from this early. I don't from here a Columbus, Ohio State football player. I don't even have him even pulled up anywhere. This is somebody that's, I grew up because I love William White. I'm not sure. I got to find out. I'm not sure how old William White was. I know he had to be. Him and Chris Carter was around the same age. He's in there. They're in their mid-50s, maybe around. He passed away of ALS. He had ALS. ALS. That's another thing that I really didn't get into. There's a lot of players that, if they're not going through mental issues and things like that, they're suffering from things like this. They're suffering from ALS. They're suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's. There's all these different diseases that they're going through, like I said, and all of those things are, what do they affect? That's your brain functions. So, I mean, it's got to be from where else? Where else could it be coming from? I mean, we really have to look into this and understand, like, man, like I said, this is killing us. Like, we're really killing ourselves watching this game. Like I said, I love it. I watch it too. But man, it's sad, man. Like I said, I have a hard time watching it sometimes. Like I said, when I do see somebody get hit hard, I'm like, man, I already know he's hurt. He hurt, man. And if he ain't hurt on that play, I know it's gonna hurt later. It might not hurt right then, but it's gonna hurt later. We just gotta, like I said, I just want us to understand, man, like, this is a real problem. Like I said, we got people out here, they're killing their family members, they're killing relatives, they're doing all kind of different things. Philip Adams, another person. Look, they actually studied, Boston University, they actually got his brain. They actually studied his brain, and they said, hey, yes, Philip Adams, he did have CTE. If you don't know who Philip Adams is, and also Philip Adams, Ann McFay, who we talked about, she's the one who studied his brain. Ann McFay, like I said, she's one of the top neurologists that study CTE. She's one of the top doctors in that. Okay, basically what Philip Adams did, he's in a rural South Carolina. He raised and shot questions when he went to the home of Dr. Robert Leslie, and shot him, his wife, 2 of his grandchildren, aged 9 and 5. He also shot and killed 2 air conditioning technicians who were working at the property. Adams later killed himself during a standoff with the police at his parents' home nearby. Both families said they acknowledged that Adams had CTE before he carried out the shootings. And so his father had came out and, he was hurt from it. And he basically said, football killed my son. This is what his dad said. He said, football killed my son. Like I said, and his son killed 6 other people too. Like, this is a real problem, man. We have to really look at this, man, and understand that we hurting ourselves. We hurting our communities. Like I said, I know we all talk about different things like, hey, go read a book. Like, yeah, we need to read a book. We do need to read some books. Like I said, we on all this social media and all these things that we're doing, just like me right now. Like I told y'all, when I created this and this platform, I did this because I want to try to give some type of information, man, and hopefully, man, touch somebody to say, hey, all right, there is something out here. I need to think about this. That's why I created this platform, because like I said, I want to talk about things in sports that are really hurting us, and I think that we really need to be taking a second look at it and just think about what's happening with us and how we manage our time. And is this productive for us? Is this constructive? Is this bettering us in any kind of way? I mean, like I said, I know I could sit back and sit down all day and watch sports all day. We all could. But I mean, what are we getting out of that? Not really too much, man. So that's something that like I said, we got to really understand what this is and what it's really doing. And like I said, if you look at the demographics of it and how basically, like I said, it's black players that they're pushing out here. The white players they're giving it up. They're giving the sport up. They don't have a problem quitting. That's where I want us to get to, the point where we can say, okay, when a guy quits, we don't down him. We praise him and say, hey, man, you were good. You had your time, man. You did your thing. Just like LeBron, man. LeBron, he's still going. And that's LeBron is, as I say, LeBron is a gift and a curse to everybody. Like, he making everybody feel like this is what it's supposed to be. Everybody can't play 25 years, man. That's just not possible, especially not in football. They put their golden boy Tom Brady out there. He did the same thing. He played a long time. But it's and it's starting to come out now that Tom Brady had issues with concussions that they didn't talk about. They still don't talk about. I think that might have been part of the reason why his wife divorced him. Like, who knows? But that they did say that was part of some issues she had, that he wasn't talking about his concussions. So that that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that lets you know right there. Like, they'll cover those things up. They'll cover up the bad stuff, and they won't tell us what's really going on behind the scenes. Like I said, man, we seeing it every day, man. I really didn't get to talk about DeMar Hamlin like I wanted to, but like I said, that's another person, man. DeMar Hamlin, like, what is he doing? Why are we praising him for coming back? Like, we literally watched this man die on the field. Like, I could have put the footage up of, there's footage of him when they was resuscitating. Like, they got footage of that now. They got that out now, where they're pumping his chest, trying to they brought him back to life. They did. They saved his life. Thank goodness. Thank goodness, man. I'm glad he made it. But that play with him and Tua coming together and Tua falling out and getting a concussion, that was like, man, that was coincidence. Coincidences are not an accident. I couldn't believe that happened. Like, God was, I don't want to say God was talking to us, but hey, man, something was going on with that. Like that right there, when they show that was plain sight. Like, what else do we need to see? These are basically the two greatest examples of why you shouldn't be playing football. And they came together, and you see what happened. One went back, one fell down and fell to the symptoms of what we keep talking about. Head trauma. Thank goodness DeMar Hamlin was able to take the blow and he ain't pass out because of a blow to his chest. But I mean, what's gonna happen the next time? What's gonna happen to there's other people, man. Like I said, I'm just thinking about the kids now, because I didn't get to talk about the kids. This past summer, in August, during this upcoming season, there was 8 deaths of children, not grown-ups. It was 8 kids, high school age kids. There was a 12-year-old boy. They all died from head. There was multiple reasons: head trauma, heat exhaustion, because it was a hot summer this summer. I mean, like I said, this sport, man, this is right here. This is they out there working. Just like they talk about. Football it has every aspect of slavery that you basically can ask for. I mean, it's everything. They on the field, they out there on the field. They in the field, they on the field. I mean, they have combines where they basically have a slave auction where they draft you. I mean, they have it all. It's basically the whole system of slavery. And they've implemented it into football and have created a $1 billion business where they are living well off of this game. It's like their biggest income. They're making so much money off of sports, man. It's ridiculous. Every billionaire, they want to be involved in sports for some reason. Why? We don't own any sports teams. We have some minority owners, but nobody owns a sports team flat out. This is theirs. Why do they have us out here? They're using us. They're using us like they always do. And we're going to be the ones that we're being hurt by it. We're being hurt by what's happening. I'm gonna end off by just basically saying, like I said, I hope everybody just pays attention to all the clips. Go back and look up all these names that I've said to you guys over these past 2 episodes. Go back and look these people up. Go back and do your own research on this stuff, because it's important. It really is. Like I said, it's a lot of things that I didn't really know about any of this. Like I said, when I found out that you could get a concussion by just being hit in the ankle, like, I thought that was crazy. Like, so I mean, just little stuff like that, man. We have to read. Bill Rhoton's book, $40 Million Slave. I would say everybody should go out and read that. That's a great book. It basically can explain some of the stuff. Some of the stuff that I was saying today, it can give a little bit more detail into the black athlete and what we've went through over the years, and what's happening right now, and how LeBron is the top athlete, and all, how, this has been going on for centuries. This is what they have done. Back, I don't think we know the top horse race jockeys back in the 1900s, they were black. They were the top. They were like because horse racing, when we talk about gambling, we're going to talk about horse racing. So you're going to understand what horse racing was. But horse racing was like one of the top sports. It still is today, really. Horse racing is real big. It was one of the biggest gambling sports. But the jockeys, they were all black. And they were like celebrities back in the early 1900s. But they were all slaves. They were the slaves. And they would get money, they would get paid, but they were owned by their master still. So, like I said, man, we gotta know history, and we gotta understand where these things come from before we start participating in these things. Because this is America. If we know what America is, I mean, it's built to be a white country. That's what they've based it off of. So, I mean, that's what it is. So I hope everybody understands what that means. I hope that y'all enjoyed the concussion series. I hope I got my point across to you. There's a few things I wish I could have said, but I'm not gonna keep rambling on and on about it. I kind of said the things that I needed to say. Like I said, go research, and when you watching these games, man, just look at it. I hope you look at it in a different way. Just sometimes when that guy gets hurt, hey, think about him, man. Think about how he gonna be in 10 years. Think about the players that's gone. It's a lot of players I didn't even get a chance to even mention because it's been so many of them that have passed away. But I appreciate you listening. This is another episode that we got out the way. Hopefully there's gonna be more to come. Like I said, I appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe. RDB21. See you when I get there. 1.